Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning in. Today's guest is Tom Drake. Tom is a veteran of the United States Marine Corps, where he served as a machine gunner. He served in various theaters of operation around the globe to include the Persian Gulf, the Philippines, and Somalia. He is a retired sergeant from the Illinois Department of Corrections, where he worked at the Menard Correctional Center. He served 12 years on the Menard Tactical Unit and was also a hostage negotiator. So please sit back and enjoy my conversation with my cousin, Tom Drake. So you did have kind of a unique upbringing compared to a lot of us around here. You grew up you're an Air Force brat. You grew up on Air Force bases.
Yeah.
What was that like?
I mean, it was normal to me, obviously.
That's all you knew.
That's all I knew.
Well, first, what is the first base you remember? Was that in Indiana?
Indiana, yeah.
Okay.
I don't remember because we were in Michigan before that, and of course I was born in around Travis Air Force Base.
Now, where's Travis at?
In California.
It's in California,
Yeah.
Okay.
I was born there. We went to Michigan at some point. I think probably 6 months after I was born, we were there, and then we moved to Indiana. And I specifically remember bits and pieces from Indiana, but I think that's about probably where my memory really starts kicking in.
That's the first time I remember really visiting my Uncle Tom, your father, who was part of the Strategic Air Command.
Yeah.
And seeing my cousins. And I remember going into some kind of, he obviously he could get us into play. Hey, check this out, and showed some birds. And he actually got us on. I don't even remember what kind of bird it was.
Yeah.
But I was a little guy. And I remember sitting in a seat. And, of course, my dad, you don't push anybody, but I'm acting like, of course I wasn't. And I remember your dad going, and of course he always called me Bo. Mm-hmm. He's like, hey, Bo. Don't push that. Whatever you do, don't push that. And I don't remember what it was, but it must have been. I'm like, of course, Dad, and now he's on me. He's like, get out of that,
Yeah.
But that's my first memories of you and your sister Samantha.
Yeah.
Was over in Indiana, and I can't remember if it was Christmas or So you remember Indiana?
Yes.
And then you're out to California.
Then we moved to California, yeah. My dad got stationed or moved to Marsh Air Force Base. Initially, he went there working on 135s, and then he was an airplane mechanic. He went to the KC-10 refuelers.
Okay, which is a type of aircraft.
Yes.
Yeah, because we are horrible about acronyms. You and I have talked about that. Anybody listening to any of these shows that's never served, it's a KC-1.
And even if you have served, everybody's got their own acronyms,
I don't speak Marine. I don't speak
Right.
Air Force. Which, by the way, you're the first Marine I've had on. So now
Hoorah.
and this was not intended to be a military podcast. I just want to talk to interesting people.
Yeah.
But, hopefully I get some,
you can get some pretty interesting stories from military people.
They they tend to have a few.
Yeah.
So anyway, so now you're out in California. I'm guessing culture shock from Midwest Indiana to.
Yeah, it was. The weather was the real big. I remember whenever we first moved to California, it would have been 79, and they had the worst freaking rains.
1979,
if I remember correctly. Now, I'm not going to be perfect with my dates.
Well, sure.
So I apologize
but around late 70s.
Late 70s, we moved there, and it was just like monsoon season. We had literal rivers running through the streets, and we had streets, which was, on Air Force bases, it's so much different. Like whenever I moved back to Illinois and was living in a small town, there were no curbs. There was just roads, asphalt roads that were rocked and chipped. But at the Air Force Base, there was no rocking and chipping. They had asphalt, curbs and all that. So,
right.
Yeah, we moved out to California. Culture shock. I mean, this is how big of a culture shock mine was. I was thinking about this the other day. I don't know if this is the actual number or if this would have been my projected graduation. But whenever I was a freshman, my graduating class was told me I had a graduating class of 2,000. 2,000 kids in my graduation class.
In your class?
In my class. They literally built another high school I I think it was my sophomore. I think that maybe my freshman and sophomore year, they were in the process of building, and I think it was called Edgemont. I went to Moreno Valley.
This is off base, obviously.
This is off base, yeah.
There's a lot of towns that don't have 2,000 people.
Exactly. Yeah, I live in a town now of 2,000.
And that you had that many students.
Students.
That is insane.
We had trailers just in an open field. They put a bunch of trailers out. I'm trying to think. I think my sister's graduating class, which was a nightmare, was somewhere between 300 to 500 kids. And they graduated the entire class in a night. So you did the entire ceremony in a night.
Really?
Yeah.
Holy cow.
So you can imagine doing, 500 kids. You're just trying to push through. And it was I think we were there for three and a half hours, if I remember correctly.
That's insane. Now, was there anybody famous in your high school that you can remember?
No, not particularly.
All right. Yeah.
I know a few people that I was friends with that got involved with Microsoft early.
Oh, good for
I don't
them.
know them very well anymore.
I was gonna say, are you good friends?
But yeah. But
so you grew up bouncing around on air base. Well, not barely bouncing around. I say
no,
that,
not really. But the whole thing is you make friends, and then you lose your friends. You know, and I test it. I'm kind of that way now. I have I haven't spoken to hardly anybody from the prison since I retired.
Right.
I feel bad about that whenever I think about it, but it's normal for me to just eject all my friends because I know that I won't see them again, whenever I leave places.
Right.
And I think that's part of my psyche, I guess, where I'm, I make friends, but then if I'm leaving a place and I don't ever go back to them. Like all my Marine buddies, I haven't talked to any of my Marine buddies since I left the Marine Corps for the most part.
The good thing about it is you don't have to.
And I don't.
A guy wants to, but if you called him up right now, they'd be excited to hear you. So
Absolutely.
let's get into that. So I remember whenever your dad retired from the Air Force and he came back here to Illinois, and you guys moved a trailer in over there on the roof property. And you went to school in Tower Hill. So now you went from a class of 2,000 to Tower Hill High School. How many was in your graduating class?
24.
24. So you
a little culture shock.
Yeah. So you went from Indiana, California, and then back to Illinois. You get through high school, you graduate, which I was excited. I couldn't wait for you guys to come back because it was always exciting when you guys, as a kid growing up, whenever your dad would take leave, and whether it was Christmas or Thanksgiving, it was
a lot of summertime.
Yeah, that's right. A lot of it was, and it was just so exciting. It was like, oh man, they're coming back, and
it would be a big thing, man. We'd
was
all get
huge.
together. Like it seemed like we got together almost every day on that 30 days that we were there. Because my dad would take all his 30-day leave. We'd drive out there, which is miserable.
Right.
From California to Illinois. And being a kid, you have no concept of, distance.
Especially back in those days, you're stuck in the back with some little car and you're just squished in. And
my dad, I don't know how he did it, but he straight through. And that's a 24-plus hour drive.
Coffee and cigarettes.
He straight through every single time.
Yeah.
Until I think the last time we came to Illinois, he decided we'd go to the Grand Canyon and the Painted Desert. And here's the funny thing about the Painted Desert. I thought whenever they said the Painted Desert, which is in Arizona,
right?
I thought they said the Paina Desert. And everybody that lives around Tower Hill knows Paina is like right down the road, 10 minutes away.
Right.
So we're driving, and I'm like, when are we going to get to the Paina Desert? I'm totally confused this whole time. I'm waiting to, and then finally, whenever we get there,
that's great.
That's the first time I told anybody that. Yeah. As a kid, I think I was 10 or 11 years old, and I'm thinking we're going to the Paina Desert.
Because
there's a desert.
If we get to Paina Desert, man, we're home. Yeah. Because Tower Hill's just,
yeah. No, but that was on the way home. Whenever we left Tower Hill to go to the Painted Desert. I thought we were going to the Pana Desert.
Oh, I thought that was on the. Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah. So imagine my confusion the whole ride. Why are we driving so far away from Pana?
Pain is 50. Yeah, it's 5 minutes from Tower Hill. Yeah, that's great. So, you come back, you graduate. Let me ask you this. Okay, so you grow up a military brat. When did you know you were going to go into the service?
Oh, early.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it was basically, well, as kids growing up, that's whenever Rambo and Commando,
Red Dawn,
all that. Chuck Norris and his movies. Yeah,
Chuck.
Everybody.
Chuck.
Chuck. Yeah. So it was almost like it was, and it could have been, part of the some kind of a plan to get people to go in. To who knows, but that was a lot of stuff. Yeah, and I enjoyed it, and I'm just like, man, I need to do that.
So you knew from a young age, as did I.
Yeah,
and I've always said, I think too, with our family.
Yeah, and that's it too. The history. My dad being military, your dad being military, our grandfather, who I respected more than anything, and
our great-grandfathers.
Yes.
When you read the history. And it's I've always said, I don't know, I had somebody ask me years ago, and I said, well, for me, it was kind of like, you're going to serve. You go to the military, you come back, and you get to sit at the big kids' table at Christmas and Thanksgiving.
Right.
That was kind of my mindset, especially back then.
Yeah.
And so same deal with you. Yeah.
So
go ahead.
Well, I was going to say initially I was supposed to go into the Marine Corps in September of '89.
Well, let's get into that.
Yeah.
Why the Marine Corps?
Oh wow. Well,
did you look at any other branches?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Air Force wasn't even on my radar, so that's one that I didn't look at. Just because my dad was in it. It wasn't something I was looking to be a ground pounder. I was looking to be a trooper that went on the ground. That was my whole thing. Infantry was the way I was going to go.
Right. You wanted to be a tough guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As a young man, you want to prove yourself. If not to anybody else, yourself.
Right.
And that's the big thing right there. I wanted to prove that I could do something that was out of the norm of me. Mm-hmm. I was never I played sports, but I was never physically active, and
well, you were a heck of a baseball player.
I wasn't too bad.
Yeah. I always remember hearing, out in California how good you were in baseball.
Yeah, I wasn't too bad. I wasn't great.
Right. Well, but why? So, in your mind, the Marines...
Well, it was going to be the Army of the Marines. I knew that.
Right.
The Navy did not interest me either. I didn't feel like... the only thing that would have interested me would have been the Navy SEALs.
Right.
But...
So, did you talk to the Army and Navy
I talked
Marine
to both.
recruit?
Yeah,
okay.
But ultimately, the decision came down from, talking to my brother-in-law. He was a Marine, too.
Jerry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So... Yeah, that kind of sealed the deal for me whenever it comes to the Marine Corps.
Yeah.
So the plan was for me to go in September, and I was going to go in from California. I was going to go out there and live with my best friend Jason for, several months, and then go on from there. Which I'd been told that's not a good idea.
Right. You've been told what wasn't a good idea?
To go in California from Illinois. Well, let's get along a little further on the story, and I'll tell you why.
All right.
Okay, so what happened was I flew out to California, and I stayed out there with my best friend. And probably, I think it was about a month or less before I was supposed to go in, his brother had come down. We got together with his other brother, and we decided we were going to go to the beach. We were going to Venice Beach for no other reason, just to go. On the way, they stopped and bought some beer. I was 19 at the time, or 18, excuse me. I was 18 at the time, getting ready to turn 19. And they bought bottles. And so we were on the beach with bottles.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we got busted. I didn't even get my first beer down. We got busted by the cops. So then that turned into a whole big rigmarole. I couldn't go in. couldn't go in because of that. So then I had to.
Wait a minute. The Marines would not take you because you got, I'm guessing, a ticket.
Well, I got a ticket, but I hadn't been to the courthouse. So I hadn't been given my sentence. So they wouldn't bring me in because I was close enough. I might not even. It might even been less than a month. It was probably like maybe a week or two before I was supposed to go in.
Good night.
So they were like, no. So then things just got really complicated, and finally I'm just like, I'm going back to Illinois.
Right.
So I flew back to Illinois, waited around, and then I went in. And luckily I did, because I didn't realize that if you are a resident of Illinois, what was it, Illinois Veterans
Grant.
Yeah. I wouldn't have qualified for the Illinois Veterans Grants if I would have went in through California.
Okay.
For college.
Which pays for your college.
Right.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I never did really go anywhere, but that option was always there.
Sure.
You know, whenever I got out. So, yeah, that was the deal. So then I ended up pushing it off until February. And I went in February of 90.
So you report to, okay, now this is one thing. I've got a couple buddies that were Marines, because I don't speak Marine Corps lingo, but I've always tried to like bust fakers. So, and in this, and I'm not going to get into everything that they've taught me, you know, because I don't want people to listen to this and, you know, but you're a Hollywood Marine.
Yeah. We went to MCRD in San Diego.
Because you went through St. Louis, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And you're on
the MEF station,
yep.
St. Louis.
Yep. Mm-hmm. So that's where you report is. Go ahead.
I don't know how you felt, and it would be interesting to hear your story about that. But I'll tell you what. Whenever I went to MEF station and was getting ready the night, to go, I couldn't eat. I was nervous, scared. I mean, it was just every single emotion that you could feel, I felt going into that. And I was watching some of the guys on the plane, and they were eating. And I'm just like, how are you guys eating? I'm so nervous. I'm so scared. I don't know what am I getting into?
I know, man. Yeah.
I'm flying 2,000 miles, or is it 2,000? Yeah.
Close.
Yeah. 2,000 miles away from my home, from my family, people that I've been around with my entire life. And I'm just going to wing it, dude. And there I was. We flew in, didn't have a company. So we got attached to another company. There were 6 of us, maybe 10. My memory doesn't serve me great. But there was a small amount of us that was waiting, that we were waiting for our class to form. So we got stuck in with another platoon.
And that sucks.
That absolutely sucks. We went 3 days. I've never before went 3 days without sleep. That's the time I did. And it was insane. I mean, the movement, everywhere we were going, we didn't get any sleep. No one cared about who we were because, the drill instructors, you're not with me. So the one night, I shouldn't say 3 days. It was probably 2 days we went without sleep. That second day, we're, lined up in the barracks there by our racks and stuff, and the drill instructor says I can't remember the name of their platoon, what their number was. I eventually went to 2015, I think, was my platoon number, but such and such platoon, hit the rack or whatever that was that they said, and we weren't part of that platoon, so we stood there. Everybody else got in bed, crashed out, and there was us. We stood. We were just standing there. The drill instructor shut off the lights, and he went in and laid down. And we stood there for a good 2 or 3 minutes, and finally, I'm going to bed. I don't care. I was falling asleep just standing there as it was because I couldn't stay asleep anymore. I'd never been that tired in my life. Just sleepy tired, not physically tired, mentally, just drained. And, everybody else followed suit, and we got a good night's sleep.
Sleep deprivation is, in my opinion, probably one of the worst. I mean, physical exhaustion, food, but sleep deprivation is horrible.
It's rough.
It's horrible.
It is, yeah.
So,
from then on, we went through boot camp. Nothing outstanding or nothing really stood out as far as my boot camp days went. it was a blur.
Yeah.
It was a blur.
Yeah.
So
and it's 13. I think Marine Corps was 13 weeks
Yeah.
back then. You know, you talk about the same thing with you're not being a part of a company. I remember when we got done with our first week, we were all excited because I'm thinking, man, because the Army basic back then was 8 weeks.
yeah.
We get done with the first week, and it's like, yeah, man, 7 more to go. And they come in, they're like, all right, basic training starts tomorrow. It was a 0 week, and I'm like,
Are you
okay.
kidding me?
Yeah, same thing.
Wow.
Whatever. It's a mind game. You know how they do.
Yeah.
So, yeah, basic training, typical, sucks.
Yeah,
you got through it.
Pushed through basic training, graduated, went home, come back.
You did not go to AIT, which AIT is Advanced Individual Training, and I say AIT, and that's for all branches, whether it's,
Well,
Army.
at the time, ours was called MCT, Marine Combat Training.
Okay, but that's different than AIT, isn't it?
What's your definition of AIT?
Your MOS school.
No, yeah, so it was different than AIT. Yeah.
You graduate basic.
This is basically what the Marine Corps is doing. I don't know if they still do it or not, but everybody goes through MCT, no matter what. It's Marine Combat Training. No matter what your MOS is, you're going through MCT.
If you're a machine gunner or you're a cook.
Right.
Right, okay.
And then if you go an open contract after MCT is where you find out where you're going. Once you've graduated MCT, they say, okay, here you go. You're open contract. You're going. You're
an
a
engineer
cook,
or a
infantry.
cook, right? Yeah.
Most of the time is either cook or infantry for open contract.
Right. So, all right, you get through basic MCT. Now you're going to
SOI, School of Infantry. So it would be your
AIT.
AIT.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, SOI, School of Infantry. Now, okay, and this is what I find interesting about the Marine Corps versus the Army. The Army, you are an infantryman. Now, mortars are different, and then they used to have 11 mics, which was like mechanized infantry. You knew you were going to go to a heavy, and then like 11 Bravo was like light infantry. But basically, it was pretty much infantry is infantry. But the Marine Corps, you were a machine gunner. That is an MOS. It's not just it's okay. Yeah. The Army does not do that. And so when you went in, you knew you're going to be.
We trained on 3 weapons. You had the M60 Echo 3.
Right.
You had your M250 Cal.
Oh yeah. Okay.
And then your Mark 19.
So a machine gunner. Now that I did not know. The Mark 19 is so anybody listening.
It was back in the 90s, or back in the 90s. Yes.
Yeah. Was a 40. It's a 40 millimeter fully automatic grenade launcher. Now that's something you cannot carry. That's obviously mounted on some kind of a vehicle.
Right.
50 cal is the same way. 50 cals are mounted, on vehicles, whether they're tracked or wheeled. And then a machine gun, like the did you say 240? Did you say M60?
M60.
Okay, yeah, it would have been M60s then.
Yeah.
Is a 308 caliber 7.62 by 51. That is something you carry. So when you graduate, you're going to be either carrying a M60 in a light infantry unit, or you're going to be
in a weapons company,
which means
meaning your heavy weapons, anything like your Mark 19s, 81 millimeters, because 60 millimeter mortars were with companies or with platoon. They had their own platoon within the company. Okay. Or I should say section. I think they called them sections. So you had your machine gun section, you had your mortar section, you had your tow section, or your what do they call that weapon? I'll come back to that. It was a 0350.
But I mean, as far as you knew you're going to be operating one of 3.
Right.
Yeah, you're either going to be on the M60, the 50 cal, or the Mark 19 40 millimeter grenade launcher.
Right.
Okay. What did you get? First duty, you graduate your SOI, School of Infantry. You graduate School of Infantry. I guess now, did you know at that point where you were going to go, or because
no.
I'm guessing you're coming home on leave.
Yeah.
All right.
I wasn't sure exactly where I was going to end up, what unit. I I think at the end of SOI, and I can't be 100% sure. My memory's not that great on those kind of details, but whenever I was done, I knew I was basically going up the road, 10 miles away, maybe not even that, to Camp Horno with 1st Battalion, 9th Marines, Walking Dead.
Oh, okay. 1st Battalion, 9th Marines. That's they call those that battalion. Is that a battalion? Is it
that would be
a regiment, brigade? I don't know.
Let me think.
Well, I'm sorry. I don't mean to put you on the spot, but anyway, the 19 is the Walking Dead.
It is a battalion, I believe,
and that's
1st Battalion, 9th Marines.
Right, and that's they've made movies about that, didn't they? In Vietnam, is that what they were called?
They were called the Walking Dead from Vietnam.
Okay,
because a lot of their company got wiped out at some point.
Right.
The history. I used to know the history. You forget a lot of that stuff, but
sure. So you get assigned to 19.
Mm-hmm. Go to 19. It's right up the road, Camp Horno. Yeah, and I get there, and there are within our platoon that I was going into, which I was going to be a 31 machine gunner for the M60. There was maybe a dozen people in our company at the time, because the buildup for the Gulf War was starting.
All right.
And a lot of what happened was...
What year are you talking? What month?
This would have been... Let me think now. This would have been probably the summer of 90.
Yeah, so they're all over in the Gulf.
Yeah, so we're probably getting into the fall. Getting close into the fall.
So you're talking Desert Shield.
Yes.
So everybody...
Yeah, and what had happened, what it was explained to me was they had taken everyone out of 1st Battalion, 9th Marines for the most part, left a few. He had a couple of sergeants, he had a staff NCO. I don't even think we had a captain. We might have had a lieutenant, like a second lieutenant. Had a couple of lance corporals, maybe a PFC. And lance corporals is an E3. PFC is a private first class.
Very low rank. You come into the Marine Corps as an E1 or the Army or anything. You start out as an E1 and then, yeah. So you're talking very,
So at the time, I think I was a PFC going in.
E2 in the Marine Corps.
Right.
Yeah.
And we show up and, like I said, there's nothing there, no bodies. So they're like, hey, they stripped our battalion of all the troops to fill in holes of other battalions that they were sending over, and they basically told us, you guys are going to be in reserve when the war starts, because there was no question on when the war was going to start or whether the war was going to start. It's just when is it going to start.
Right.
So then we start training, and I tell you what, we did some training. I mean, we started flooding in. We started getting more and more bodies, more and more Marines coming in. And I ended up getting a team leader spot right off the bat. I mean, I was an ammo man for a little bit, and then bam, right straight to team leader. My machine gunner was, in my opinion, the best machine gunner. I mean, this guy could hit anything with that machine gun. Just beautiful. And I won't mention his name, but man, he knows who he is. He was a stud,
right?
And still is. He's a great guy.
Yeah,
great guy.
Yeah. Why don't you want to mention his name?
I can. Yeah. I didn't know if you wanted me to. Jack Hansen's his name. He lives up in Wisconsin.
Absolutely. Because my question is, where's he from? I always want to know.
He's from Wisconsin.
Okay.
Yeah,
Midwest boy.
I think Necedah, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah. And some cool stories from that dude. Yeah. Jack was something else, man. He was part Indian, but he had blue eyes, blonde hair.
Right.
And he was crazy.
Yeah.
We were roommates for a long time, and this dude, but good friends, great guy. I made some really good friends, and as I said at the beginning, it's unfortunate with my background that I just kind of lost touch with all these people. But I have gone on and talked to some people, learned some stuff about different people that I went through with and what they've been through, since then. But yeah.
So there you are. You're getting trained up, desert warfare.
Yeah.
Operation Desert. It goes from Desert Shield to Desert Storm.
Yeah, and that happened. Actually, we went training. we went up to Fort Ord for mount training. Some really fun training, by the way. You know, and I don't know because you guys did a lot of that mount stuff.
Well,
not mount, but you had the Miles gear.
Yeah, but I was Fort Ord. Well, I think back then was the 7th Infantry Division was stationed there. It's an Army base, and I did basically the same thing in Fort Polk. Right. Only we were in the swamps.
Right.
So there was, I don't know, Smithville, and then they had another little village there, but I never messed around with that. I think that was mainly our scouts and stuff. But yeah, no, I'm familiar with that kind of training. Yeah.
Yeah. And that was a lot of fun, that training. Yeah. Being the team leader. But it was on the way back. We were heading back in our buses. You know, we had all our camo on and everything, you know. And we're driving back, and all these cars start honking at us and cheering and all this stuff. And I'm like, what the hell's going on? And then the word gets down, we started the war.
Yeah.
And everybody was cheering us on.
Yeah.
And you could have heard a pin drop. You know, because it's real now. You know you're going to go over there, possibly. I figured we were going over there for the long haul. It was going to be a big, long war.
Marines don't sit out wars.
No. So then the intensity of training got a little bit heavier. I mean, we were getting so many rounds. It was unbelievable. We'd have to, you know, give some of the rounds back because our guns would break down. You know, we were using old weapons. That's one thing that I will say about Jack. Our gun never went down. Never went down. Between me and him working on that gun was always up and running. You know, and if it did go down, the next gun that we grabbed, because we did at the time, whenever we were doing a lot of our training, there weren't enough soldiers, or excuse me, I shouldn't say soldiers. There weren't enough Marines to man all the guns. But we always had an up and running Echo 3. Thanks, Jack.
Yeah.
I never, ever doubted anything. When going into battle with the guys I was with, we were locked on. I mean, we could get our guns up and running in seconds. You know, from a standing position, I could get my tripod down, T&E in, boom, machine gun going in probably less than 20 seconds, you know, and putting ground sound range in less than 20 seconds. Accurately, yeah. And then, you know, if the T&E went on, a lot of times, you know, T&Es were put on. But if you're in a combat situation, I can't see somebody putting a T&E on. Which traversing an elevation is T&E. It was a device that you would put on the back of the gun and on the back of the tripod. And basically it was for more of a fixed situation where you're wanting range, or your target or your rounds going to a specific area. So you use that T&E for your elevation and your traversing left and right to get it on that target. That's what it was used for.
There are things I think the Marine Corps does better than the Army. There are things that I think the Army does better than the Marine Corps.
Yeah.
What you're talking about, in my opinion, the Marine Corps does better. I like the fact that you're training people to be basically heavy weapons specialists, you know, because a rifleman is different.
Yeah.
I'm not totally.
You want to have somebody that knows that machine gun inside and out.
You doggone right.
And trains with it all the time.
Absolutely.
That's important.
Yeah.
Because as well as, I mean, we've been in situations before where things have gotten a little bit hairy. And you know what? Everything goes out the window.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. All right. So you're training up. Desert Storm kicks off.
Everything but training, I should say.
Yeah.
Training does not go out the window.
Right. So it passes. What's your next step then? So you're still out in California. The war's over. We're victorious.
Well, we were set to go up on our first Westpac.
But now, what is a Westpac?
Westpac is basically so you got your Marines on the East Coast and West Coast.
Okay.
The Westpac did all of Southeast Asia, basically.
Okay, but what does Westpac mean? Is that you're going out on a float?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Your battalion is going with a MEU, which is a Marine Expeditionary Unit.
Right.
And I couldn't tell you how many battalions, how many whatevers in a MEU, but there's quite a few.
This is what I do know about MEUs.
Okay.
I do know a MEU is totally sustainable.
Yes.
They're kind of like certain Army divisions, the 82nd Airborne Division. They can drop in, and they are totally sustainable. They have everything. They have their own artillery. They have their own armor. They have their own food. They have their own, the 10th Mountain, the 25th, whatever.
Right.
I know MEUs are MEU, Marine Expeditionary Unit. I think you just said that. Mm-hmm. They can go and hit someplace, and they don't need resupplied for quite a while.
Right.
Okay. So now you're part of a MEU.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'm thinking, I was wanting to try, I've got a yearbook from that, and I went looking for it last night, and I don't remember where I put it, but I'm thinking at the time I was 13th MEU.
Okay.
Okay. Now, that could be wrong, but I think it was the 13th MEU. But anyway, so we're headed over, and it takes quite a while. I think
You're heading over to...
We are heading over to Southeast Asia area of, say,
Philippines, Saipan, Vietnam,
Korea,
right.
China, around there.
Japan, anywhere.
So we're on our way there, and I'm pretty sure we hit Hong Kong first. And it takes quite a while to float overseas. I think it took us 20-some days.
What kind of ship are you on?
I should have mentioned that. LST.
What is that? What is an LST?
So a landing ship transport is what
Okay.
LST stands for. I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
I was on the USS Bristol County.
Okay.
And I believe that was decommissioned after this one.
Okay.
I'm not 100% sure, but I know it was sold to
old.
some South American country after. But what a LST is a flat bottom ship.
All right.
And they're meant to go on shore, basically. They drop anchor, and they just come in, the front end opens up, and we had Amtraks at the time. I was an Amtrak company. Alpha Company. So basically what the design of the LST, I believe, was a World War II era type vehicle, and it would just go right up on the beach. It'd drop anchor out further back, and then it would just, from what I understand, I've never seen it done. I don't know the exact mechanics behind it, but from what I was explained to is there's this huge anchor on the back. Huge. I mean, the size of a vehicle, well, maybe even bigger than that. It was very big. And they would drop that, and then they would go on shore. They would open their doors up. All your vehicles would hop off, and then that anchor was supposed to pull that ship back out, from what I understand.
Okay.
Because
Right.
being flat bottom,
Sure.
great design.
And you're a machine gunner on one of the vehicles then? I mean, I guess.
No. That's
no.
a totally separate thing.
Okay.
Amtrak's had their own gunners. They had their own drivers, all that.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
So you're going over on this ship.
yeah.
That's really an amphibious crap. So I'm guessing now, and I don't know much about naval stuff, in the middle of the Pacific, does it get bounced? I'm thinking it's going to get bounced around pretty good.
Oh, yeah.
Because you're not like you're on an aircraft carrier.
Well, it really came into perspective whenever we skirted the outside of a hurricane.
Okay.
And that's what they told us. We're skirting the outside of the hurricane. We're batting everything down. Everybody needs to stay in their berthing areas. And they were right. That's the first time I probably came close to getting seasick, because we were literally almost, at 90 degrees. The ship would be rocking
And your berthing
so
area,
much.
you guys are packed in there like
Packed.
sardines, aren't you?
Packed, and it's not so bad until you hit that. There's a certain point, and it might be the equator, I don't know, but there's a certain point where you go from freezing cold to blistering heat. There's no in between. You're just cold, and then you're hot. And that was a transit. Here's the problem was, when we found out, not during the float itself, but afterwards, we found out, talking to a couple squids, which squid is a Navy personnel.
That's a slang term for
Slang term. That's what the Marines call the Navy guys, squids.
Yeah.
But I'm sure they got.
Jarhead.
They've got some good ones. It's great.
Tear each other
it's
apart.
Great. Yeah.
And the only people that don't like it are the people that have never done it, and they're clutching their pearls, and they hate that's a slur. It is.
It is, and it's all in good fun,
man.
And you know what? If we got a problem with it, we'll fight about it. Exactly. That's usually how it ended up.
There you go.
You know?
Yeah, that's it.
And whenever the fighting was done, everybody was good.
Yeah. Amen. So,
but anyway, let me tell you about skirting this. Like I said, the first time I ever thought I was going to get sick, my equilibrium was so screwed up because we were literally going, and I mean, from sideways to sideways.
I've heard guys. I have buddies that were in the Navy that said there are times when they went on big ships, let alone little ones, that you could see footprints on walls.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So you're getting smoked in this hurricane. You guys are trying to skirt it, but it hits.
It hits. And they said it's not the weather that we hit wasn't bad. If we were actually in the hurricane, I don't know how it would have felt. Who knows if we had even made it? Probably would have. And it's funny that you say little ship because it really isn't a little ship. The LST was a big ship. I mean, I think it held 13 Amtraks.
Holy cow, okay.
You know, I mean, there was a lot of equipment on that ship. It was not a small ship.
And that's just Amtrak. Which an Amtrak, explain what an Amtrak is.
An Amtrak is an amphibious vehicle that's launched off of ships, basically to get on the beach.
Think of an armored personnel carrier.
Right.
It's got tracks like a tank, only it doesn't have a turret like a tank. It's more made to hold
troops.
There you go.
That's all. It's designed to hold troops. Thin skin. I think it's. It can take some light armor or some light weapons
light
fire,
armor,
but like a 50 cal go right through that.
Right.
I would assume.
So this ship that you're on can hold 13 of those plus whatever else it holds. But so it's not little like a.
No, it's nothing.
But it's not huge.
It's not like your LHAs, which is a landing. It's like a smaller version of an aircraft carrier.
Okay.
You know, there's LHAs and there's LPDs. I don't know what the acronyms stand for, or the letters stand for. But they carried like kilos, the LHAs, and the LHA carried Harriers also. The LPDs didn't, and we had the LHA Tarawa, I believe.
Tarawa. Okay.
Yeah, named after the famous.
I had a buddy, a good friend of mine. His grandfather was a Tarawa. Yeah.
Yeah. What a tough time for them guys.
Oh, good night, man. Wow. Yeah. Horrible.
Just thinking back to that, you know, I like to hearken back and just think of those guys. You know, Grandpa more than anybody. I think about him a lot and what he went through. You know, and wow. And it really, ultimately, you think about it, there was really no end for them guys. They didn't know when that war was going to end. And a lot of them guys did a couple years.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's it. You didn't enlist for a year.
You stayed.
Yeah, it's till
it was over.
Till we win.
Or you just injured
Did you ever hear the story? John Yukonall told me this, and I believe it was his mom. Or it may have been, it was either Aunt June or Aunt Wanda. Did you know? Okay, I didn't know. Grandpa never drank before he went to the service. I did not know that.
I did not know that either. I think I knew that I don't think he smoked either.
Yeah, probably not. There was a battle, and they were being overrun. The Germans had pushed back, and they were in a town. And so they're running and hiding, basically. Mm-hmm. And he ran into a bank. Ran into the what at one time was a bank. I mean, it's shelled out. He runs into the vault. The vault door is open.
I remember this story.
Yeah. And he hides behind, and a German came in, and he's hiding behind the bank vault. So you had heard this story. I'd never heard it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
I might have heard it from you.
Yeah,
I don't know.
He came in and he's holding his rifle and holding his breath, and he can look through the little crack in the vault door, and he can see the German kind of come in, and he's looking around in that room and didn't think to check behind the door because he's in a hurry. Wow. And he went running out, and
I guess Grandpa said he was so worried that guy was going to hear his heart beating.
Yeah.
Because he's holding his breath and not moving, because they were overrun, But yeah.
Wow.
Lot different than my service, I can tell you that.
Yeah.
So now you're on this Westpac. You're heading. So you skirt this hurricane.
Right.
You get through it, which that's an experience. First time on a
First time on a ship. First time actually realizing how large the ocean is. Unbelievable. If you have never been on the ocean,
and I haven't.
If you've never been on, let me just put it this way. If you've never been on the ocean where you can look around and not see land, and you continually do that for multiple days, that kind of gives you a scope of how large the ocean is, how unbelievably huge. I mean, I'm thinking that we were 20 days at least from California to, I think we ended up going to Hong Kong first, which was absolutely amazing.
Now, that would have been before the British still owned it.
As a matter of fact, whenever we stopped in there, they were selling T-shirts of the switchover. We'd give the Chinese people, some heck because you're getting ready to become communists, and in our minds, that's the worst thing in the world.
Oh, yeah.
It still is.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And are you guys okay with this? And they're like, oh yeah, we're fine. But I don't think they realized exactly what it was that was gonna happen there.
It'd be nice to pull those same people back now,
wouldn't it? But they were selling
without the threat of.
I wish I would have bought a T-shirt now because they were selling shirts. I wish I'd have bought a T-shirt and just kept it hidden away somewhere because that was hindsight.
So you hit there.
We get back on ship. And Hong Kong was okay. It was a drunk fest.
And
I'm
that's
not
your
gonna
first.
lie.
That's your first foreign. You'd ever been to
First foreign port.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it was a drunk fest.
Sure.
Which every port ended up being that
Right.
way. I don't know. You miss out a lot. But it is what it is. We'll continue to go. But, we get back on ship and we're floating out. And at the time, the rumor going around was we were going to Korea. Because at the time, North Korea was beating its chest. Kim Jong-un.
Or Il or...
I think it was Il. Kim Jong-il.
It was the dad, yeah.
He was still alive at the time. And he was beating his chest. That was the plan. Then Pinatubo hit. Mount Pinatubo exploded, volcano in the Philippines. And covered Subic Bay and Clark in about a foot of ash. It basically ruined everything. And they sent us to the Philippines. We were there for about 7 days.
So you guys respond more of a humanitarian?
Yeah, I wouldn't say humanitarian, more of evacuation.
Okay.
So we get there and we're directed, basically our job is to load up all the luggage and put it in 5 tons.
Okay.
That's it. These planes would fly in. We were in Cebu. I ought to say that. I believe it was Cebu, and I believe it was a Filipino air base that we were on.
Right.
So then the planes would fly in. They would be full of military families. And then we would direct them, get them on buses, take them to a staging area. Yeah, from what I understand, they would take them to a staging area. They may stay in the staging area for a day or two, and then they would fly them helos maybe to aircraft carriers. And then I'm not 100% sure if they floated them back on aircraft carriers or if they just take them. They took them somewhere and flew them back. But anyway, that was our job, and we did that for about 5 to 6 days where we had families coming in, And the first day we were there, and we're going at it. We're unloading stuff. We got a good flow going, And 3 o'clock hits, and the 5-ton driver turns the engine off and steps out. My staff sergeant at the time was like, "What you doing? Where you going?" He said, "It's 3 o'clock, quitting time." And my staff sergeant had a high-speed come apart. Staff Sergeant Nelson, greatest guy. Oh my God, I love the guy, and everything that he did, just absolutely loved him.
Right.
He's number one for troops, all the time, always looking out for his own guys. He's a big guy. I think he's 6'3", probably 250. Huge. Great guy, though. And he's like, where are you going? In more colorful language, of course.
Oh, yeah.
And there was an Air Force guy. And he says, I'm done. My 8 hours are done. I'm going home. I'm going to my motel. And my staff sergeant just lost it. What do you mean? It's 3 o'clock. 3 o'clock. There's people still coming in. Do you not understand what we're doing? He's like, I'm done, man. I was told to stay here till 3 o'clock and drive this truck. I'm done. And he walks off.
Oh, boy.
So then it starts going.
Is it an Air Force vehicle?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it's a military vehicle. Anybody could have drove it.
Right.
And that's what ended up happening. We're not carrying all this stuff. I mean, we would have.
Right.
And they would have made us carry all that luggage by hand across the tarmac. But we had smarter people, thinking, and they're like, all right, anybody know how to drive a 5-ton? Anybody got a license? Well, of course, there's always a few guys that can do something.
Sure.
And they got the trucks up and running.
Yeah.
And we worked till like 1 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, wow.
And then we go to bed. We get up at 6. Boom, right back at it.
I'll be darned.
So
you're there a week evacuating, and
and on the last day we were there, or should I say second to last day, because I believe we ended up being there for 7 days. We were only supposed to be there for 6, and we were part of the problem. So we're kind of have a little bit of downtime towards the end because there wasn't as many people coming, and had some friends of ours, some Marines, come up. Hey, you guys want to go for a bus ride? And we're like, hell yeah! So me and my 4 buddies, we're like, hell yeah, we'll go. So we jump on this bus. It's open, no windows, just open bus. Yeah, except for in the front, obviously. And we cruised around, bought Red Horse beer, drank, just had a great time for about an hour. We thought, well, we better get back. Now, as soon as we got back, guess who was waiting on us? Staff Sergeant Nelson.
Oh, boy.
Where the have you been?
Right.
And it put a little call for language in there for you.
Right.
And we locked it up. We didn't know what was going to happen because we were drunk.
Right, sure.
We'd gotten on a bus. I don't know where it came from, but it drove us all around Cebu. We had a great time.
What were you supposed to be doing?
Standing down, nothing in particular, but I'm definitely not supposed to leave the base.
You should.
On a bus, Oh, he was mad, and then our captain came up, Captain Bourne, made us feel even worse. He's like, "Yeah, well, gentlemen, we were supposed to leave this afternoon, but I was missing 12 Marines, so we couldn't leave." Yeah, I thought we were going to get in some serious trouble.
Well, yeah, missing a deployment.
That's like AWOL.
That can be a big deal.
And they were able to brush it. Staff Sergeant Nelson, I know he brushed it. He's like, listen, These guys, they've been working hard. They've been doing, and that's the way he talked. He had that gruff voice.
Oh, yeah.
And I know he smoothed it over for us. He probably ended up having to pay something somewhere along the way. Not money-wise, but some.
Sure. So,
yeah.
That was your first your first real mission, I guess.
Yeah.
Now, did you come back to the United States after that mission?
After Philippines? No, we ended up going into the Persian Gulf after that. And
Holy cow.
Yeah, it was right after, basically the war had ended.
Desert Storm's done.
So
this would have been 91?
Let me think here.
Yeah. I think it was, because I remember I was going to get some letters.
Yes, it was 91.
Because that's when I went through basic training.
Yeah,
and
I believe we left. Left, I believe, it was either April or May of 91. Yeah. I believe the war was even over by then, or it ended while we were floating over.
Right.
Because it didn't last that long. 3 days. So, no, it was over by then. We were just going over for cleanup, for security, guard. And that's what we did. We went around the Persian Gulf. We manned guns throughout the entire Persian Gulf. Went to a couple ports, Mombasa, Kenya. Went there twice. Seychelles Islands. Went to Oman. That was different.
Any interesting stories there?
Kenya was different. My buddy got cut across the cheek.
Really?
From one of the females there. Because what we didn't understand going into the port was, well, I had no intentions of doing anything with any of the females.
Sure.
Okay. And there were, obviously there were guys who had plans, but I had no intentions. I just wanted to go out and drink.
Have a couple beers.
So we went to a bar, and there was a lot of women in there, and they just came over to you and just sat with you, and they did talk to you as best they could, this and that. And my buddy got really friendly with one of the gals, but he had already told me he hadn't planned on doing anything with any of them.
He did or did not?
He wasn't planning. Well, the whole thing was before we even hit the port, the medical doctor came up and said, listen, the prostitutes in Mombasa, Kenya have a 90% HIV rate, which isn't, I don't think it was true, but they convinced me I'm not touching any of these females. Not even going to take a chance. Because at the time, there was no cure for HIV.
Right.
I mean, it was fairly new.
Right.
Still, coming from the 80s.
I still don't think there's a cure. Well,
they can.
Hell, they live forever now, so whatever. But
they can put it into like total remission. It seems like now, but so yeah, my good friend of mine started messing around with one of the gals. But he didn't have any intention of going home with her. But that was his mistake. And I had a gal with me too. I didn't really do anything with her. We just kind of talked, we might have kissed a little bit. That'd been about it. And I was pretty hammered. So was he.
Kissing a gal that you've been told 90%'s got HIV.
Yeah. Well, you can't swab it through saliva.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's one of them things, But anyway, I was still sitting in the bar, and he comes in, and he's bleeding. He's got a slice across his cheek.
Right.
And I'm like, what the heck happened? And he's like, the girl I was with attacked me. I was like, attacked you for what? I wouldn't take her home. She got mad at him for not taking her home.
Oh.
So she cut him. And I look at the gal, and it was very, very broken up English. We were able to get small conversations and kind of understand each other a little bit. I looked at her, and she's looking at me. She don't know what's going on. I just slide her over the rest of my money and leave. I'm like, here, you can have this. I'm gone. I don't want to get cut.
Yeah.
So we left.
It ain't worth dying over or getting
them
hurt or whatever.
Getting a slice across your cheek.
Yeah.
And we had heard of that happening in the Philippines. If you're caught with another woman, if you've already been with a woman and you're caught with another one, there's a possibility that one that you were with before may cut you, or even the one you're with now.
Right.
So you had to be real careful, and that was stuff that they warned us about. If you're going to do any kind of,
hanky panky.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
So that's Kenya.
That's Kenya.
Yeah, and then
Kenya was I thought it was kind of neat because a lot of the houses, they had these brick walls I should say rock walls, and at the very top of these rock walls they had broken glass sticking up out of it, kind of like their razor wire, I guess. Yeah. So you couldn't just climb over the top, or you had run the risk of getting cut by that glass.
Poor man's concertina.
Yeah. So
yeah.
But we, like I said, we hit Seychelles Islands. That was different.
Now, where the Seychelles?
Yeah, it's off the coast of. There's a military base there, and it's off the coast of Africa. I couldn't tell you exactly where. Okay. But fairly close to Kenya, I would think.
Okay, so you're talking the northern part, closer to the Saudi Arabia, the Persian Gulf, the Red Sea.
I don't think we were in the Persian Gulf, but we were close.
Okay, all right.
And I don't remember a whole lot from Seychelles. It was too expensive for one. Mombasa had the perfect. I didn't eat anything there. No, wait a minute. I take that back. I think we did eat some spaghetti there at one of the restaurants. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't very good.
Yeah.
But no meat in it. I think it was just noodles and sauce.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it was something different than chow hall food, from the. And I'm not going to take anything away from the Navy because them chow halls, boy, they can cook.
I'm going to tell you something. I think and I'm not joking when I say this, I think one of the worst MOSs, and when I say worst, I mean toughest. I don't care what branch it is. It's a cook. Those cooks have to get
through
up.
It.
Well, and they've got to get up. I mean, because sometimes I'm talking even in garrison. When you're in garrison, you might, I don't know, 4 o'clock in the morning. Those guys got to get up at 3.
Yeah.
Yeah,
if you're going out on missions,
I can't. I mean, anybody that badmouths a military cook doesn't know. I mean, now they're not kicking indoors. Don't get me wrong. An infantryman in combat is the worst.
They're playing a vital service.
Yes, an infantryman in combat, that's the worst job.
Yeah.
Or anybody that's in direct support that's with them. That is the worst.
Yeah.
Because you're dealing with, but as far as support goes, because everybody badmouths the cooks. Everybody hates it.
Well, we badmouth everybody.
Well,
we got nicknames for everybody. Your admin guys are pogues.
Yeah.
But they have, it's a valuable service.
Isn't it funny
logistics are huge. That's what drives an army.
That's what wins wars.
Absolutely.
It's all logistics.
Yeah.
And isn't it funny how the older you get,
the more you appreciate it.
Yeah. Because when you're young, I remember when you and he, because we lived together. When you were just out of the Marine Corps. I'm just out of the Army. I was in an airborne infantry unit. You're a Marine machine gunner. We used to talk smack all the time.
Oh, yeah. It was great.
And everybody else was, they're worth it. I mean, there's nobody. It's like, okay, I'll accept you because you're my cousin. You're a Marine machine gunner. Okay, those guys are all right. And it's like, yeah, you're a paratrooper. You're okay. You're my cousin. But everybody else sucks,
Absolutely.
And, it's just, but it has to be that way.
Absolutely has to be that way. You have to be the best.
If
you're going into combat, you got to be the best. You got to think you're the best.
Can you imagine rolling into it and you're getting ready to get in it's like, man, those guys are better than us.
Yeah, no.
I mean,
that's not going to work.
It just doesn't work. So, all right, we're kind of getting a little out of here, but all right, so we're leaving Kenya. We're leaving. You went into the Persian Gulf. You said basically you were cleaning up after Desert Storm.
Yeah,
you just kind of.
There was always rumors about what we were going to do, but we ended up just staying on the ship mostly. So we went into Oman and just did some missions, training missions. Nothing significant.
Right. So you come back now. Then after that, you come back to the.
I got to mention Thailand.
Okay.
We did go to Thailand.
Yeah. All right, tell me about it.
And I don't know if you've ever seen the movie. Ewan McGregor's in it, and it's whenever that tsunami came in to Thailand and wiped it. There's a movie. I can't think of what it's called right now. But anyway, that's where we were at. That movie took place where I went to, Phuket.
Really?
We went to a small island off the coast of Thailand. We didn't actually go into Thailand. We went to a small island. We had to be boated in. The ships had to park way out. They had to, whatever ships do.
Hey, park works.
Park's good enough.
Yeah.
And then they would come out with these rickety old ships or these rickety old boats, pick us up and take us in. We'd have to wade in from there, And we were there for quite a while. And that was a drunk fest.
Oh, I bet.
For sure. We did a lot of drinking there. We had to show up every morning for roll call, and then we'd go back out. I had to do one-day guard because one thing about Jack, he was a great machine gunner. The guy could not stay awake. So we were in Oman doing missions, training missions, and I had just done my fire watch and woke up Jack. It's your turn, buddy. I went back to sleep, and then I went to sleep. Well, Jack didn't wake up. Jack went right back to sleep.
Oh, man.
And our corporal, I can't think of his name, corporal caught us. And he was really going to hammer us. And I had to take him off the side and say, listen, we have been busting our butts. I understand you're upset. I should have woke. And here's the thing, and I felt bad. Partially my fault, because I woke up and I looked over and I seen Jack on the gun and he looked asleep, but I didn't check. I was just like, he's fine. Went back to sleep. Not a good thing to do. Not in those kind of situations. I should have checked on him.
Yeah.
And we did get snatched, and we were going to end up having to do all 6 days of guard duty on the ship. That's what they were going to do to us. And I pulled our corporal aside and I was like, listen, man, we can't do this. No. I was like, this is not right. I mean, I understand, yes, we need to be punished, and they conceded and let us go out. But I want to tell you this. I got so drunk, I went home with one of these gals. She took me to her house.
Now, this is in Oman? Or
This is in Thailand.
In Thailand.
In
okay.
Thailand. And I woke up in the morning, had no clue where I was at. I just wanted to get out of there because I knew I had to be in roll call. I woke up well before roll call.
Formation. Roll call. That's corrections.
Yeah, that's corrections. Thank you.
I do the same thing.
I know, yeah. So formation. So I go wandering out, and I'm trying to find where the water is. There's no water anywhere. I don't know where I'm at. No clue. I don't remember going there. I mean, I was pretty blackout, I think. I don't know if anything happened with that gal or not. I was pretty drunk. All I knew is I needed to get back to the ship. I'm wandering around on these roads, and then just from out of nowhere, this freaking elephant comes walking out of the woods. And I'm like, are you kidding me? And not a big elephant. It was a small one. It looked like a baby. And I don't know if the Asian elephants, I think they're smaller.
So you're walking down.
There's an elephant.
You're hungover, walking down some
Yes.
road, and here comes an elephant.
Yeah.
A little one.
You know the old cartoons where they show the flying elephants? Yeah, there you go. That's what happened to me. The flying elephant came by. And thankfully, not long after that, another one of those infamous buses shows up, and there's a bunch of white people on there. And I'm like, yes, perfect. I jump on. None of them speak English. They're all German. I got on the right bus, though.
Right.
It took me down. I never asked. I just got to go. I got to go in a direction and hopefully
Take me away from the elephants.
Yes. Oh, that was crazy. I'll never forget that.
Yeah.
But they got me down, and I got back on ship in time. Stood formation and got to go back out and do it again. And I had Monkey there too.
Really?
Monkey's very good.
Really? Mm-hmm. Now,
it was from a side vendor. It was on a stick. It was like
they're primates.
Yes.
So now cannibals talk about. They say human tastes like pork. That's what they call human flesh. They call it long pig.
Right. It's pretty similar, I think.
Does monkey taste like pork?
I would say consistently, yes. But the flavoring they put in there, you couldn't. And as inebriated as I was, plus on the kebab, because it was on a kebab, they put these peppers on there, and I took a bite out of one of them. Wasn't bad. I got down to the second one, and that lit me up. That was the hottest pepper I think I've ever. It's just a little bitty pepper, and it just burned me up.
They say that for the
yeah. So that was.
I hate monkeys. By the way,
I absolutely.
There are two animals on the planet. I do not believe in killing just to kill. I'm not. I am. I'm a hunter. I'm an. Conservationist. Honestly, we've planted 1,500 trees on the farm. But I'm here to tell you there are two animals that I will kill just to kill, and that's baboon and hyena. Now neither are on this continent.
Yeah.
But just watching stories and documentaries when those baboons will go in and raid villages, and they, these African mothers, they'll take babies from their arms.
Yeah.
And then you watch hyenas. Everything hyenas do is against. The females have. It's not a proboscis. I don't know what the correct term is, but they push their genitalia inside the male to collect the sperm. Did you know that?
I did not know that, no.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Yeah. That isn't right. No. So, and the way that they heckle and they, they're just something. And look, I get it. They're needed. They're part of the eco somehow, but I'm not a big fan of monkeys.
Yeah, I'm not either. I hear about people having like chimpanzees and stuff as pets. I think that's pretty much insane.
Yeah.
Especially after that one woman got her face ripped off.
Yeah. Although there is one monkey I like. It is the golden snub-nosed monkeys I think they're in China. Look them up. Okay. Those things are studs, man.
Yeah.
I love them things. That's the only monkey I like. The rest of them I don't care for. But anyway, so you ate monkey. It's similar to pork, which, I would guess. That's Thailand. You're rolling back. Now, did you stop any other way on the way back?
Well, there's also another interesting story that I want to get to. Whenever we were in the Persian Gulf, it was so hot. And I was alluding to this earlier, and I didn't get to finish my story because we got off on a tangent. But we did find out after the Westpac, after we got back, that the squids were shoving blankets and comforters and stuff in the venting system so we didn't get any air conditioning in our berthing area. So we had absolutely no air conditioning in our berthing area.
Because that would make more for them.
They had, oh yeah, we would walk to their portion of the ship, and it was like going into an icebox.
Let me ask you this. Now, this is something several other Marines have told me. What part of the ship were you guys in? Were you in the very bottom? Because they have told me.
Yes, we were in the very bottom.
That's what they say. They put the Marines at the very bottom.
Yeah.
And
we're the first to drown.
There you go. And I don't know much about, like, again, my naval stuff is very bad, but they say, if something would happen, you take a, whatever, some kind of shot, the water starts flooding in. You start cranking down, batten down the hatches.
Absolutely.
The Marines, you're just guys are kind of.
Yeah, we're stuck.
You're just there. Yeah.
But what I was going to get to was it was so hot in the Persian Gulf. And it was fine going over there. I slept in my bunk. I was like, we had 5 racks. And each individual rack had a Marine in it. And I think I was the 4th from the 5th. So I had 1 guy above me and then 3 guys below me. And you basically had enough, if you take and put your leg up, bend your knee and put your foot down, and you're laying down, that's about how much room I had when somebody wasn't laying in there. And when if somebody was, then you had even less. You could barely get on your side because there was, they were just cloth racks, basically.
And this is where you slept?
That's where we slept, yeah, in the berthing area. Which, it wasn't that big a deal, but whenever it got hot, and you've got, I'm trying to think how many Marines we had in there. A lot. Probably 100 at least, maybe more. Yeah, it got really hot. So one night, I decided, what, I've had enough of this. And I talked to my buddy Chris. I think it was Chris Lucero, and he was up. We're all sweating, middle of the night, and I'm like, "F this." I said, "I'm going up top." He's like, "What?" I said, "I'm going up top. I'm gonna get on one of them Connex boxes they got on the deck, and we'll sleep on top of that." He's like, "That sounds like a good idea." He grabs his blanket or his sheet. I had my sheet. We went up, got up on top of the Connex boxes, and slept outside in the wind. And we did that for, I couldn't tell you how long, for a long time, until they finally were like, "Hey, no more." Because what happened was we started it.
And then everybody else.
And then everybody started coming out. There was times whenever I'd go out and be like, "Oh, somebody's got my Connex box."
Yeah.
But that was fun.
Yeah.
That was a great time because we'd sit out there, we'd look up at the stars if there was any out, and the wind was blowing. It was nice and cool, but it was warm. You needed a blanket or you needed a sheet like about halfway through the night. And, so we slept on Connex boxes for a long time while we were in the Persian Gulf till they said the captain was like, "No, you guys can't do that anymore."
Were there many fights on the ship between the Navy guys and the Marine Corps?
No, not really.
No, they try to keep that under control.
Yeah, we had limited contact. We pretty much stayed in our own berthing areas.
They didn't want you guys.
We had our own gym.
Yeah.
They
kept you separate.
Yeah.
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 And that's done intentionally.
There probably would have been a fight if we'd have found out they were stuffing the
yeah. I mean,
because I always wondered, why is it that everybody else's berthing area is cold and ours is just burning hot? It's hotter than the sun, And that's why slick suckers. Yeah. We're done. We float back.
Well, number one, did you cross the equator?
Yes, we did.
Okay. So you're a shellback.
I am a shellback twice.
You went through the shellback ceremony.
Yes.
Which I know you can't really get into that, but anybody that's listening to this that doesn't know, and I didn't know, I think you're probably the first person that ever told me about it, and then I had other buddies that were Marines that did the same thing, that anytime you cross, what are you before? Before you cross the equator, you are
Pollywog.
You're a pollywog. And then this is all naval stuff.
Yeah,
whether
it's
you're
a long,
Navy,
long tradition of crossing the equator, probably
hundreds, if not, yeah.
Yeah.
And so Navy or Marines, once you're a polywog, and then once you cross the equator, you become a shellback. But you have to go through ceremony,
little ceremony,
which is nasty.
Yeah,
we won't get into it here. Yeah. But I've heard
there's a lot of trash involved.
Good night.
A lot of crawling.
And whipping and beating and then sucking cherries, and I just eating literal trash. I mean, like dumped food. And,
they would save up the trash for quite a while on the back of the ship
because they knew
that's another thing that always bothered me whenever I was in. Is we would take the trash and just throw it off the back of the ship. Plastic bags, everything. Yeah, everything went overboard. Can you believe that? I don't think they do it anymore. I would hope they don't do it anymore.
That's horrible.
It's absolutely horrible, yeah. You're taking plastic bags full of plastic and throwing it in the ocean. I think it was at the time, it's like with everything. You don't realize what you're doing until you see what's happening, and then you're like, oh, man, maybe we shouldn't have been doing that.
Yeah.
Because I guarantee you it happens, or it was happening with every ship on the ocean.
Well, yeah,
not just us.
Right, yeah. Every
and
foreign,
it probably...
Well, you hear them talk about those big floating islands of trash and debris that's full of plastic.
Like the size of Texas.
Just horrible. Yeah, good night. Yeah. So, all right, you're back... Well, let's get you back to stateside. You've done your first deployment.
Yes.
You're back home.
Whenever we got back, I got put on guard duty.
All right. But I mean, at this point now, are you kind of considered a Marine?
You're
a shellback now, man. You've been on a deployment.
Yeah.
You're not the FNG anymore. You're not the cherry.
Right.
Yeah,
we've done a few things,
But a lot of those guys were coming back from Desert Storm. So you're not those guys either.
Right. We're just kind of in the middle. We didn't do it. We didn't see any action. So it's kind of disappointing because, there's one reason why you go into the infantry, and whenever that reason is presented to you and you're in and you don't get the opportunity to engage in that, what you're wanting to do, which is a blessing actually.
As a 50-year-old man,
as a young man, 18, 19 years old, that's what I went in for, to protect the country,
I remember when I came back, did 3 years, never left the United States. And Dad and I had a conversation one time, and I remember telling Pop, I'm like, same thing. I feel like, I never got to get in the game.
Yeah.
I said, I kind of feel guilty because I never went to combat. And he said, well, some of us feel guilty because we did.
Wow. That's pretty powerful.
Yeah. And guilt. Yeah.
It's,
not guilty. I mean, and I know my father well, and I don't mean to speak just for him. And he'll tell you, there's nothing. I mean, you are a 19-year-old kid. You're sent overseas. You do your job.
Yeah.
That's what you do.
Yeah. Yeah, it's... I know exactly what you're saying. It's like, to us, at that age, going in, it was like a rite of passage.
There you go. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Because
because
again,
that's what was talked about.
Your dad had been in Vietnam.
Yeah.
My dad had been in Vietnam.
Our
grandpa had been, in World War II. Our great grandfather had fought in the Civil War.
Yeah. We had uncles that in World War II.
So that's what you do. You sign up and you go do your duty, and then but your story's different than mine. So let's continue with you.
So
your story doesn't end there.
Like I said, we did some guard duties. I did that for about 3 months, and that was, I guess that was a precursor to what I was going to get into, guarding. But, it's just a bunch of training. We went, what's that base in California? It's in the desert, 29 Palms. Went there, did a 30-day rotation of maneuvers and stuff. That was a lot of fun. I got to see a lot of cool stuff. Got a toast shot over my head. That was different.
The wire?
Yes.
Hearing it unwind?
Wow. Yeah. That's amazing. To hear that go over your head.
Oh, yeah. What? Yeah.
Yeah. So if I remember correctly, that's what I remember hearing.
All right, being an FO. Okay, now granted, there's times the guns aren't anywhere close to you. Mm-hmm. They're your angle is completely different.
Right. Because you don't want them dropping on top of you for
right,
sure.
But there's times the guns are behind you.
Yeah.
Usually they're not, but sometimes they're. And I don't know how high they would be going over, but a 155 goes. As it's going over your head, you hear that to me. That's what. Yeah. But okay.
So
you're training in the desert.
So we train up, and then obviously we come back to my second Westpac. We're going overseas, and if I remember correctly, I'm just trying to think about this. It was either August or September we left in '93.
Okay, so you were back for a couple years then.
Yeah.
Okay.
They usually, unless you go to a different battalion, you stay back for a couple years and then you go. Right. Usually you can get 2 Westpacs in on a 4-year stint.
You get 2?
Well, you can.
1 to 2.
I had to extend for my second Westpac. I had to extend 3 months in the Marines.
So you wanted to do another
Absolutely,
one?
yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So
on the float.
And this was 93, which 93, okay. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So 93, and like I said, it was either August or September whenever we left. And we get out there and they tell us, hey, we're going to Australia.
Oh, man.
I'm like, oh, yes.
Yeah.
I have always wanted to go to Australia.
We've heard the stories.
Yes. I was so excited. And we're on our way. We're going. And I was already shell back, so we were going to hit the equator again, too. So I thought, well, cool. Here we go.
But you don't have to go through it this time.
I don't have to go through it. I'm a shellback. I'm beating people this time. So we almost get to the equator. We're like 4 or 5 hours maybe. And the rumor starts going around. We're turning around. We're not going to Australia now. And we're like, what the F is going on, man? We're all mad. And then we hear about what happened in Somalia.
The Black Hawk Down situation.
Yes.
Okay. I remember I was in Fort Polk, Louisiana when that happened. Mm-hmm. And I remember watching that when they're dragging those soldiers through the streets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We didn't know about any of that.
Wow. Okay.
We just hold that there's a problem in Somalia. We need to go there.
All right.
So we ended up going across the international date line. We just went across to do the shellback thing, and then we went all the way and set off the coast of Somalia. And, so I think we were there for about 3 months.
Now, you have a very interesting story of Somalia. All right, okay. So you're in Somalia, and now you guys go ashore.
We do go ashore.
And what was your mission?
Our mission, we were looking for crew-served weapons.
Okay.
So we had our ROE was...
ROE is Rules
of Engagement.
Engagement.
Was any crew-served weapons... you immediately take out the target.
Okay, and let's explain what a crew-served weapon is. Because a lot of people listening to this won't know what that is. So,
in anything...
takes more than one guy to fire.
Not necessarily, though, because, you've got machine guns. Those are considered crew-served. Our Echo 3 was a crew-served weapon.
Because you have to have an assistant gunner.
You could, but It didn't necessarily need one. You know what I'm saying? But that's specifically what we were looking for. Machine guns, RPGs, and anything heavier.
Yeah, right. Okay.
If they were walking around with AK-47s or pistols...
you left them alone.
They're not, yeah.
Anything bigger than that, though?
Right.
Then you engage them?
Right.
Okay.
The only really hairy situation that I got put into, this was our second time in Somalia, and we were going to a training area. And we were just doing training because at the time everything was calmed down. There was no, and what a terrible place, man. I mean, really. Whenever we first got there in Mogadishu, what I remember most of anything, there's 2 things that I remember, is the tents, dome tents, what looked like dome tents, but they were actually sticks that were built into like a dome, and then they would take whatever they could find material-wise and put over the top of it. So if they had a tarp, they'd put a tarp over. If they had sheets, they'd put sheets over it, whatever. That's where these people lived. And they were everywhere. You had buildings, bombed out buildings everywhere, but you had all these, people living in these, whole families living in these little bitty huts. And then the second thing I remember most was the truck. There was a big truck, several big trucks that would come by, and they would pick up the locals. They'd go out and I think bust rock or do whatever it was they were doing. But that thing would be so full. There'd be people hanging off this. I'd never seen anything like it. I mean, there was hundreds of people on these trucks, just hanging off the sides, sitting on the front. I mean, they were everywhere. If you ever see the videos of the trains in India, that's pretty much what it looked like. They were just piled up going to work. And, so we set up camp in this one area. And I did something I probably shouldn't have done. I went off to take a shit by myself. I shouldn't have said SHI.
That's all right. Go ahead.
So I get ready to do my business. And this group of travelers, I don't know what they were doing. They come
Somalis.
Walking by. Yeah, and then there's not a whole lot of brush. There's brush, but not a lot. And it comes up to about maybe waist high.
So you're squatted down doing your business, covering yourself as best you can.
Right. And these people, they're just walking by, that happened quite a bit. They didn't walk through the actual camp, but there was roads out there. And this family, they spotted me, and they started waving and coming towards me, and I'm like, wait a minute, I don't know if you're looking for food or what, but this ain't the place to come.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to wave these people away, I'm like, no, man, I'm going number 2 here, and they just kept coming, smiling and waving at me, and finally they I don't know if
Didn't you start chucking rocks at them and
No, I didn't do anything like that.
Yeah.
But I was just like, no, I'm trying to get them away from me, and but the whole rock chucking thing, some of that took place in a different area and a different thing, where it was considered humanitarian. They went in with the dentists and the doctors that were on the ships, and we had to take sticks and beat the people back with sticks, because they were trying to get in. And understandably, they don't have a healthcare system over there. We're giving free healthcare and free dental, so they're literally just taking people, shooting them with Novocaine and pulling teeth without Novocaine getting in, setting up. They're just going.
Right.
Because, it'll kick in later. They'll be fine. Yeah, this is a crazy time. Lots and lots of people needing care. And, I guess we did all we could. But yeah, it is what it is. What a terrible place, though. Whenever I ever start feeling bad about myself and about my situation, all I got to do is hearken back to those days. And think I don't have it so bad.
I've talked to a couple buddies that have been over there, and I've never heard anybody say anything positive about anything from that area or comes from that area. It's bad. It's just a bad place.
Yeah.
And we sent a lot of money there. We sent a lot of food, and it just went to the warlords.
Yeah.
That's
exactly what happened.
It didn't go to the people.
No.
And even if it did,
Well, it just makes you wonder what is the specific purposes of why we were in there. Why are we there? What is this country doing that's threatening the United States?
Well, you'd have to ask Bill Clinton.
Yeah, that's not something I thought about back then. Because I'm a young, stupid kid. I didn't think about much. Who cares?
Man, we're there for God and country. We're
That's
doing
right.
it right. We're there for democracy.
You don't have time to really sit back and think about what you're doing.
We're the good guys.
Yeah, you're just trusting that the criminals that are in charge are doing the right thing.
Right.
And unfortunately, who knows? Who knows why we were there?
Yeah. Who knows? And
I can tell you one thing. I don't think it was to stop them from slaughtering each other.
No. Yeah, who knows? You want to believe that a lot of these things the original intent is for positive. You want to believe
Right.
that. that we really did say, hey, this is a bad situation. There's these warlords.
And that's probably how it starts off.
And maybe it does. I think maybe sometimes we've become so cynical, especially now in the year of 2024. We've seen
too much misspoken words coming out of people's mouths.
Everyone's mouths.
Yes.
That we become so cynical that we forget sometimes that maybe we did intend to be the good guys. Maybe that was the intent.
I know that every Marine that was over there, their intention was to be the good guys.
There you go. And that's all that matters.
Yeah.
To me, that's all that matters.
Yeah.
Those kids on the ground were doing, what they were sent to do, and they're going to do their mission.
Exactly.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
And we just have to trust that the people that are in charge are doing the same thing.
You hope. Yep.
Yeah.
So.
But Somalia, that was whenever
So you were
a defining moment of my life happened in Mogadishu. I was. It was on the same time that happened with the number 2 situation. We were on our way there, and we had stopped the convoy in front of a hospital. There was a hospital right on the outsides of Mogadishu, and I don't remember which direction it was. But I was sitting there, and it was surrounded by a wall. And we had stopped there. And I was in the rear track, very, very rear track. And was the only one out doing what we call skywatch at the time, where you're looking for planes, looking for anything that might be a threat.
When you say the only one out, you mean you're in the track, you're above.
I'm out of the
you're
hatches.
In the hatch.
There's 2 hatches that open up, like that swivel open.
Okay. And you're out.
And I'm out.
You're exposed.
I'm exposed, and I'm watching. Everybody else was down sleeping probably for the most part. And here comes this Toyota truck. And I can see there was people in the back of the truck. And I'm like, what is this? So I got my M16 right there, and I'm just kind of watching. And this truck just comes pulling right up, and there's 3 guys in the back with AK-47s. So boom, immediately I'm kicking somebody. Nobody ever did come up. I'm kicking. I don't draw down on them, but I bring my weapon up to the ready position. I'm ready to rock and roll if need be. And we had loaded magazines, but nothing in this chamber. And they had an injured fella in the back. There was a 4th guy in the back lane in the back. And the guys in the back did not see us. But the guy that was driving jumps out, and he's saying whatever he's saying. And those guys looked at me, and I'm the only one. But I got about 60, not 60, but half a dozen tracks in front of me and who knows what else.
Right.
They see me, and they're just like, they hold up their hands and their weapons, and they set them down on the truck. So I didn't know where that was going to go. That was pretty sketchy situation there for a minute, because you just don't know. You
don't know if they're going to light you up.
Who knows what's in that truck?
Yeah, they're going to blow.
And at the time, we weren't, 83 had happened where they'd used a vehicle, but that wasn't something that was in your mind that somebody was willing to do, was to drive a vehicle over and blow it up. That wasn't a normal thing. Mm-hmm. If I can remember correctly. I mean, it had happened a few times here and there, but it wasn't anything like what they did during the
Afghanistan, the Gulf War, and all that. Yeah.
But yeah, that was pretty scary moment.
Oh, I bet. Yeah, I mean,
because the one thing that scared me more than anything is what am I supposed to do? What do I do at this point in time? Because everything's been given to you, in little pieces here and there, and you got to piece them together as a puzzle to try to figure out, is this within my ROE? Do I have to wait for this guy to shoot at me, or these guys to shoot at me?
They don't have crew-served weapons.
They don't have crew-served weapons. He's not in my ROE. But they got weapons, and they're coming up fast. So.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you chose right.
I did the right thing.
Yeah, and yeah, thank goodness for that.
Yeah.
So Mogadishu was, Somalia.
Yeah.
You get done there. Where do you go from there? Did you come home? Did you guys? Well, I'm assuming you hit a couple ports on the way back.
let's see, I know we hit Hong Kong again. I went to Hong Kong 3 times. We hit Singapore on the way, but which is a really nice country.
But that was your last Westpac, correct?
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah, so you were done.
I was done.
When you're coming back,
within 3 months, I was out.
Okay, and that was your plan. Your plan was, I'm going to get out of
right. I was ready to start a family. So
yeah. Well, and it's funny because I was in the Army at that time, and I don't know if you remember this, but I would call you or you would call me, and you started this, and it was brilliant. Because there's times you would call me and you'd leave a message with CQ, which is charge of quarters, which anybody listening, I lived in the barracks. I think you lived in the barracks. Mm-hmm. So anytime you live in the barracks, there's an NCO and a lower enlisted, and they will have CQ. I did CQ a lot. Now, did you guys call it CQ?
Just barracks.
Okay.
That's all we called them.
We called it CQ, charge of quarters. And once a month, once every couple months, you'd have to do CQ duty, which is 24 hours.
Yes.
And you have to answer any phones and take down any messages. Mm-hmm. So anytime, and there's always women calling. There's always, my boyfriend, and all the drama and everything, because, you got to. So you rarely ever got messages. Well, you started saying, the first time I got it was like, this is an emergency. You need to call your cousin Tommy in the Marine Corps. And I'm like, oh, man. Yeah. So I run, grab a phone, whatever, or I waited till, whatever time, and I call you, and, hey, what's up, man? And everything's good. And I'm like, well, man, they said it was an emergency. You're like, well, I figured that was the only way you're going to get the message. And I'm like, hey, that's smart. Yeah. So from then on, anytime I'd call you, I'd be like, hey, tell him it's an emergency. He needs to get a hold of his cousin.
Yeah.
And that was the only way they would give us our messages, which was smart of you to do that. Yeah. But now, and I say that, and I remember Easter Sunday of 1992. You won't remember this until I start telling the story.
I think I remember already.
I was in Yakima Training Center. We were on some big field problem. I don't know what. I don't remember the mission, but we were out there. We were calling in artillery and everything, and so we'd been out there for a week or two. And we're living in an OP, which an OP is, I know but it's an observation post. Mm-hmm. And we're overlooking this valley, and it's basically a foxhole that you had 18 inches of overhead cover. And it's just you're living in a mud hole is what you're doing.
Yeah.
As an FO, that's what we did. And unless we were, with the infantry. And so we'd been out there calling in artillery, calling in mortar fires or whatever we were doing. And Easter was coming, So Easter Sunday, they let us go back so we could attend and in Yakima, it's not even a base. It's a training center. It's just, but they had barracks, so you could go back. You could get a warm meal. Mm-hmm. You could take a shower.
Yeah.
And I think we could go to religious service. Go to church if we wanted to. So we do all that, and they let us use the phones. Well, I knew because I had talked to Mom and Dad before I went out there that everybody was going to meet at. Well, we call your mom Sissy because anybody listening, your mom and my dad are twins, and I've always said, besides my parents, my children, and I guess my grandchildren, you and I share more DNA than I do with anybody on the planet because I have no siblings.
Right.
So outside of them, everybody was going to be at your mom and dad's or at grandma and grandpa's. Mm-hmm. They were going to have a family get together.
Yeah.
So I'm calling, and I call Sissy's house. Nobody. I call grandma and grandpa, which they lived right next door.
Right next door, yeah.
Nobody. So I call, well, maybe they went up to the farm to Mom and Dad. So I call Mom and Dad's, nobody. We're going back, and I just keep calling all 3 places because I'm thinking, well, maybe everybody's outside. They might be doing something, because, Jessica, and I don't know if Taylor and Dakota were born then, but I thought maybe, kids, maybe they're doing, I didn't know what they were doing. And so everybody's loaded up. They're ready to go. We're going back out to the field, and they're waiting on me. And I'm like, well, just let me go make, because they're like, come on, man, we got to go. And I'm like, let me, my squad leader or my chief, I guess, I'm like, let me go make one more call.
Yeah.
And I call, and you pick up the phone. Do you remember that phone call?
Oh, yeah.
That was one of the worst phone calls I've ever had. I remember because I pick it up, or you pick it up, and I'm like, Tommy? because I didn't know you were surprised everybody to come home on leave. You took leave, nobody knew, and you were going to surprise them for Easter. And when you answered, I'm like, hey, man, what's going on? I can't believe, what are you doing? And you're like, oh, man. You're like, Josh, I can't tell you this. I can't say it. I can't say it. And you were just, and I knew.
Yeah.
I knew. And I'm like, I said, Grandpa died, didn't he? And you're like, I can't say it, man. I can't say it.
Yeah.
And I knew. And because our grandfather had been sick, he had cancer. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, oh, man. And so you're like, what do you need me to do? And I'm like, just get a hold of the Red Cross. So they get a hold of, because I'm in the field.
Right.
So I've got to get back from there to go back to Fort Lewis so I can get a plane ticket to come home from the funeral,
Yeah.
And he had died that morning or that day.
Yeah. I think it was April 19th.
Yeah. And anyway, so I remember I couldn't even say anything. When we got back in the vehicle, everybody's like, oh, did you finally get a hold of your family? I'm like, yeah, we're good. Let's go. So we get in the Humvee, and we're going, and it's, I don't know how many miles, get back out to our OP. And finally, I tell my team leader, I'm like, hey, I got to go back home. My grandpa died. I couldn't even say it because I was afraid I was going to,
break down.
Yeah. And I didn't, you don't want to do that in front of your guys there. Yeah. But I finally tell him, and then it was funny because it was like the next day. He was like, well, there should be something. And finally, it was like day 2, and I'm like, listen, I'm going home. I don't care what happens. I'm going home.
Yeah.
I'm going to go. If I got to walk back and then get a cab, whatever, but I am going to be at my grandfather's funeral.
Yeah.
So there was a captain because now this is coming back to me. There was a captain. We were shooting a whole nother section of guys we didn't even know, another unit, but we were the FOs for this artillery unit. Anyway, this captain comes up and he's like, I'm looking for, I think I was a private at the time. I'm looking for Private Roof. And I'm like, yes, sir. And he came down and goes, I understand your grandfather died, and we talked a little bit. And I'm like, yeah, he's a World War II veteran. He's like, okay. He's like, we're going to get you home. He goes, I just got to, and I said, well, my cousin is going to get a hold of the Red Cross, and but I told him, I said, sir, I'm going to give him till tomorrow, and then I'm leaving.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I get it. You guys got to do what you have to do. If I'm,
I got to do what I got.
You call me AWOL, you call me what you want. I'm going home, and then when I come back, I'll deal with and I will come back, and I'll deal with the consequences. But I will be at my grandfather's funeral. And he's like, I understand, son. Just be patient. But I'm thinking, because I'm in the field, I can't talk to anybody. I don't know when it's going to be scheduled. I don't know.
Yeah.
I know nothing. Next day, they come out. We're looking for Private Roof. Yep. And then they ended up taking me back in a van, which was full of mail. And so I'm in the back of this with a bunch of. And you know what's crazy? We get in, and I don't know, 2 guys, or I don't know who they are. I'm in the back with a bunch of mail, and they turn on the radio, and the first song that came on was the Red Hot Chili Peppers, Under the Bridge. It was popular at the time.
Yeah,
and if you listen to those lyrics to this day, that's what it takes me back. Take me to the place I love.
Yeah.
Take me all the way. Those lyrics were just, and that's the first song we heard.
Wow.
But anyway, so.
It's amazing that you remember that. Your memory is great because I don't remember a whole lot of that. It just seemed surreal. It didn't seem right. To me, it was like, no. I'm an adult now. I need to talk to my grandfather. I need to get I wanted to hear some of the stories. The World War II stories that I've been hearing from other people. I want to hear it from him.
Can you imagine if we could have got him on here?
Oh, man.
There was that picture that is a famous picture, and I think it was Eisenhower, Omar Bradley, and General Patton had all met at that one, and it was a concentration, and Grandpa was there.
Yes.
He was there that day.
Yeah.
And he talked about Patton. He saw Patton a lot. And he's like, oh, it wasn't no big deal to see Patton.
See, and that's where I got the story, which is somewhat different from your account.
Okay.
Well, I remember my mother. I remember her telling me that Grandpa was with another person right before they found all those bodies. Mm-hmm. There was 2 of them, and they hid underneath a stairwell. in a house as the Germans were going through checking for whatever they were checking for. And then as soon as daylight hit, they escaped out of there. And it may be two separate stories.
Yeah.
We may be getting mixed up.
Right,
I don't know. It's hard to say because Grandpa never really talked about it to us.
Yeah.
You know. But, I can't even imagine the thoughts, everything was going through their heads, you know.
Yeah, he and you know what's funny? Because the grandpa that you and I knew was different than the grandpa that your mom and my dad knew. He was rough.
Yeah.
You know, he was, and we won't get into any of that.
No.
But he was. Well, he was hard when he was drinking. When he wasn't drinking, it was fun. As far as a grandfather goes, I couldn't imagine a better guy. I loved him. I mean, he was, you know, always ornery and
Ornery as could be, laughing at you, trying to get you to go up and goose that wasp.
Yeah.
That'll keep him away from you.
Well,
Just go up and goose it.
Well, I got in trouble. My dad, because he told me, he's like, you know, you can get a skunk. He goes, as long as you grab them by their tail and lift. He goes, they got to have their feet set to spray you. So one time I don't know, 9, 10 years old. I'm back from the pool. I'm riding a bike. I still got my my swimming trunks on. I'm riding down the road, and a skunk runs out in front of me. So I jump off my bike, and I go running up to snatch him by the tail. Well, what's going to happen before you get him? So I just hit this miss, and I go up, and I knock on the door. And Dad, I go to the front door, right? Because it's horrible. I'm coated. And so Dad comes to the front door, and he opens it up. He's like, good God, what did you? And I'm like, so he's like, go around behind the chicken shed and take your clothes off. And I'm like, oh, man, I'm in trouble this time. Well, I came out with a bunch of jars of tomato juice. Yeah, just, you know, and it didn't. Took 2 or 3 showers, and you know, and well, he was mad. He was mad at Grandpa.
I bet he was mad.
Hey, what are you doing, Pop? You know, you got my son out here running around chasing, you know, because they carry rabies and everything else, you know.
Oh, that was Grandpa though.
But that was him, you know.
He was ornery.
Yeah, he was, and you know, I remember whenever he died, me and my dad talked, and he said, you know, that man never told me he loved me, and he never gave me a hug.
Yeah.
His whole life. But that was that generation.
Yep.
It was implied.
Well, I started giving him hugs and kisses. Mm-hmm. And it freaked him out.
Oh,
I'd hug him, and he'd stiffen up. He didn't know what to do.
He did, yeah. Yeah.
I can only imagine the thoughts running through his head. But, you know, that's just the way I was.
I remember Mom saying one time when I was little, you know, because I grew up, you know, my family, we hugged. You know, it wasn't considered, you know. And I was 4 or 5 years old, and I'd spent the night, and they come pick me up, and we're leaving, and I go run over and give Grandma a hug and kiss. I love you, Grandma. Okay, Josh, we'll see you. And I knew better than to hug Grandpa, but okay, we're leaving. I love you, Grandpa. All right, buddy, we'll see you later.
Yep.
And she said I stopped at the door and turned around because he didn't say I love you. And I'm like, I love you, Grandpa. All right, buddy. All right, you take care. We'll see you next time. And I said it 3 or 4 times. I guess Grandma's like, Aubrey? And he's like, damn it, May, you know. You know
the classic, damn it, May.
Boy knows I ain't got it, you know.
Yeah.
And that you know. But
isn't that funny? That's just an uncomfortable thing for him to say.
It was just, you know, different time, you know.
Yeah.
And, you know, but anyway, so yeah, I remember that was you say April 19th. I remember it was 92. I remember.
Yeah, I remember. For some reason, the date of April 19th sticks in my head. Of that, because I think it was a year later. Was it Waco that happened?
Let's see. When I was in, you had, it was right around Waco, because you had the Ruby Ridge thing in Idaho like a year or 2 prior to that.
Yeah.
When they went in and they killed Randy Reaver and his wife and his.
They didn't kill him.
They didn't kill him. They killed his son.
And his wife.
And his wife was holding their baby.
When they shot her.
And Lon Horiuchi shot her. And that was that incident, and then you had the Waco thing when they went in to save those people, and the ATF burned 100 and however many of them, burned them alive, you know, and they were a cult, and they were strange, and they were odd, and they weren't, you know, but my God, you know.
They didn't deserve to be roasted. Yeah,
you're going to, you know. Then he used to go out and go for runs. Get him when he's outside of his compound and snatch him up.
Well,
But we won't,
You don't need to get into that.
But that was. So it was all right. Yeah, you're right. Waco was right around there.
Yeah.
And I remember because I got out in 94. So when did you get out? When did you get out of the service?
I got out in, I think it was February of 94.
Okay, because you were a couple months before me.
Because I was supposed to serve until May, but I had enough time built up to where they said I could just use my time and I could get out. So I extended for the 3 months, but I didn't need to do the 3 months, basically. So I got out a little bit early than I was initially supposed to, but not much. And then I went to Idaho for about a week, hung out with my buddy there, and just drove home. I did the northern route. That was a boring. Oh, Nebraska! Wow.
Yeah, I've been through Nebraska a few times.
There's nothing there.
There's nothing there.
Wow. I thought Kansas was bad, but Nebraska,
to me, they're both about the same. But the older I get, it kind of appeals to me. I almost rather be out in them plains around nobody. Yeah. There's something to be said for that. I mean, other than the landscape.
I agree with you on the get away from everybody thing, but yeah.
So you get out.
Yeah.
I get out. And our plan was,
let's get together and go to college.
And we did.
Yeah.
We had a little place over in Mattoon. We went to school. I don't think we took our studies too serious. I know I sure didn't.
Yeah, no.
And, of course, I
met Amy, my wife.
You met your wife.
Yeah.
And that was, whenever I came back, you'd already met her.
Yeah.
And from the time you guys met, it was boom.
Yeah.
So we're living, and the three of us are living.
In Mattoon.
Well, first it was just you and I, and then
Just
you're like,
me and
hey, you okay if I move Amy? And no, that's fine.
Yeah.
I thought the world of her. And so, you guys move in, and then, so it's three of us living there. And then eventually you guys move out.
Yeah.
And then I moved one of my buddies, Rob, he moves in. And then we were roommates. Then I meet my wife.
Mm-hmm.
Then I get married. Of course, you married Amy.
Right.
I marry Misty.
And you go into the Department of Corrections.
And then I get a job at the prison because I'm like, okay, I got a family now. I was working at a factory, and then I worked at the soil place, and it's like, I got to have something legit. Those were jobs; they weren't careers.
Right.
Anyway, I ended up, getting a job with DOC, and at that time, those were good jobs. I mean, you had decent, you got benefits, you got retirement. You're going to retire at 50, and healthcare and everything. So I'm telling you, I'm like, hey, you may want to look into this.
And so I did.
But you get on. I get on at Taylorville.
Well, there's a funny story behind that because initially, whenever I went and tested, it was the craziest thing too. These tests, the easiest stuff in the world, right? You go in, push-ups, run around a little bit, do some stuff on the bleachers, and you go in for that written test. You do the written test, and then they come in and they kick 3/4 of the class out.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, man, did I fail that? There is no way I failed that. And they come to find out we were the only ones that made it.
Same thing with us. When they came in,
I think that's just overall. Everybody that I talk to, it's like we lose over half the class.
It was insane. It was the easiest test
on that
I've
fifth
ever
grade stuff
taken in my life.
Yes.
It's like basic reading and writing.
All you had to do is read a story and then kind of summarize what it was.
Yeah, and it's like 3/4, like no joke. Like you said,
it was
3/4.
easy.
And the guy comes in for us, and he's like, okay, I just want to let you guys know, they just took away everybody that passed. You guys failed, but don't get down on yourselves. And you're sitting there thinking there is no way. And then he's like, I'm just messing with you. They failed. You guys passed. But you're like, how could anybody fail that?
How could anybody fail that? That just goes to show you how good our education system is.
And that was almost 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Think about how bad it would be now.
Unbelievably bad.
So I get a job. Hey, you need to look at this corrections thing. This is pretty sweet.
Yeah.
So you do. But instead of getting a job at a prison like I worked at.
Yeah, minimum security.
I'm working at a big daycare center. You get on at Menard.
At Menard,
which is the worst. Anybody that's listening to this that may not know, I would argue it's probably one of the worst prisons. Certainly, it's worse than Illinois, and I would argue maybe the country. It's one of them.
I wouldn't say the country. I'm sure Pelican Bay, them California prisons,
but it's right.
But it's rough.
It's right up there.
I mean, the prison was built in 1886. I mean, right after the Civil War.
It's a castle.
It's a castle, yeah.
It's evil looking.
It absolutely is, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a warehouse for humans is what it is. It's
we shook down there. I was at Menard one day in my life, and I've got stories.
Yeah.
You worked a career there.
Yeah.
We shook down from the academy. That's one of the, we shook down Stateville and Menard.
Yeah.
And I can remember you come down that road and then you kind of parallel the river for a little bit and then you turn into it. And I remember I'm on a bus knowing I'm getting ready to, go shake down and then leave.
Yeah.
And you're looking and
it's medieval.
Yeah. I can't even describe it. You go through those gates. It's spooky because you got the pictures of people, staff
who were killed,
who've been killed there.
Yeah.
And then they took us, part of what we did, we went down to back then they had a condemned unit. We no longer put inmates to death in Illinois, but back then we still had death row. And I was one of them that they're like, hey, you, come here. And I was one of them, and we went on and shook down the condemned unit. And I can tell you without a doubt that is the most evil, dark, depressing place I've ever been in my life.
Yeah.
That was incredible. The whole place is bad. So you're working at Menard. You are a very upbeat, positive person, and you've maintained that. And I have let Taylorville taint me and become cynical and bitter and angry about things. How did you do that? I mean, walking into that environment daily.
Well, here's the thing. You run into a lot of people like that are just hate everything about what they do. And it is not a pleasant occupation.
Right.
I will tell you that right now. A correctional officer sucks. You're housing human beings, for one, which I don't know how you feel. A lot of them guys needed to be in there. And there's no other way of saying it. I mean, what are you going to do? You're going to kill them? That would be the ultimate, answer. Get rid of them completely, but you can't do that. I mean, we're a civilized society. But that's not civilized either. I mean, honestly, to put somebody in a cell where you can touch the walls with both your hands extended, you're in there
for the rest of their life.
For the rest of your life, for the most part. A lot of guys at Menard, yeah. And it's a different world. I got lucky whenever I first started. I did my first 7 years at the MSU, which is a medium security unit attached to Menard. And basically, the only reason we were there is for whenever Menard got put on lockdown, we could ship workers down there to work in dietary and other places that needed essential workers. That's the only reason the MSU is there, in my opinion.
Right. And then the main prison they call the pit.
They call it the pit, yeah.
And you worked 7 years at the MSU?
I worked about 7 years at the MSU, and then I was on vacation, and I got a phone call from my boss saying, hey, they're transferring you to MSU, or to the pit. And I'm like, what? What'd I do? They said, no, nothing. You're a low man on day shift, so they're sending you. I was like, but they always send the lowest person in the institution. In MSU, they always sent the lowest person. Why are they sending me? I'm not the lowest guy there. I'm the lowest guy on day shift, but, at 7 years, I had no seniority. I had just come off midnights because I knew there was no way. That was whenever I said I knew I could hold day shift was whenever I'd go to day shift.
Right.
And I knew I could hold day shift. So I go on vacation. I come back. I'm at the pit. Never worked down there. Been down there several times. Never worked down there, though. So I was, to say the least, I was nervous all over again because you don't know the levels that you're going to,
Right.
But it's pretty much the same. You're just dealing with the same people, but you really have to, be on your toes and be careful about what you say, about keep an eye on what people are doing because there's always something going on. It just depends on whether they want you to see it or not, So that was weird going down there, and I had some good friends that I'd worked with up at MSU that had come down, and a buddy of mine by the name of Tom Mezzo was like, "Why don't you come into segregation? It's sweet, come in there." And I was like, "Okay." So I went and I talked to the Major Maui. Or it's not Major. He was superintendent at the time. He was. We had just one major at the time.
Back when they were the chief of security for the whole institution.
Yeah.
Now they're shift commanders. Every shift has at least two.
Yeah. So I went into segregation, and that was not a whole lot I can talk about.
Yeah.
As far as segregation goes.
Yeah.
There's it is rough. What it is.
Yeah.
It was bad.
Yeah. Anybody listening to that, a segregation unit is, you watch Hollywood movies, it's whatever. It's the jail within a prison. So when you are in general population and you don't follow the rules, then they send you to segregation. So at a place like Menard, where you're dealing with a lot of lifers and the worst of the worst, to act up to end up there, you've really
done something.
They're really, really bad people.
And there's not a whole lot of stories, but I can't tell. This I was probably 13 or 14 years in. It was around the time TAMS had closed.
Okay.
I was right before I made sergeant. I was on midnight shift. I'd worked my stint in segregation and decided I needed a break away from it all. And I'd spent 7 years on midnights, so I'm like, midnights, I'm going back to it. I had kids at the time. Didn't want to miss out on any of their school stuff, so I was like, midnights is best. So I went to midnights. Got put in a sergeant's position up in the healthcare unit, 3rd floor. And I come in one day. We had this inmate. I won't mention his name, but a younger guy. Had a lot of mental problems. Had a lot of issues. I think if the rumors were true, he was actually born in prison. His mother was a prostitute. He was born in prison. And it just kept it up, you know. I come in. This particular inmate was a self-harmer. Okay. He liked to cut himself and shove things up his penis, different stuff like that. And that particular day I came in, and the first thing you do is talk to the sergeant, see if anything went on. He's like, no. This guy was from TAMS. And what I didn't know at the time is that TAMS, I'm just saying what I've heard. I don't know if this is true, but this is what the guys that worked at TAM told me, that sergeants didn't do anything but run the pod. They didn't deal with inmates. They didn't do anything. If there was a problem with an inmate, they called the lieutenant or they called the TAC team at TAMS. So he was coming from TAMS as a sergeant.
Now, and I want to real quick explain to people what TAMS was. TAMS was a supermax that was set up to take the worst of the worst from Stateville, Joliet, Menard.
It's a supermax.
Your max joints. Take the guys that just ain't getting along in the max
with anybody.
Joints. Well, they if they have an opportunity, they're stabbing staff, they're stabbing inmates, they're killing anybody. They're the worst of the worst, and then they would take them to TAMS. Then somebody, I don't know, they ended up saying it was inhumane, and so there was a judge somewhere, and they ended up shutting TAMS down. So then all of these guys now are going back to
regular prisons,
to other institutions. So this is a guy that had been at TAMS, and then now he's back.
I don't think he'd been to TAMS.
Oh, I thought you said he was.
I'm sorry. This was a sergeant.
Oh, the sergeant.
The sergeant had come from TAMS.
I'm sorry. Okay, I thought the inmate.
And he was fairly new, a couple weeks in, maybe a month, and he said, everything's fine, and he leaves. So I do my round, and as I'm coming up, this particular inmate's standing at the window, and he's like, hey, I wasn't a sergeant at the time, but he said, hey, Drake, I did something I probably shouldn't have done. And I'm like, what did you do? And he had a towel wrapped around him, and he opens up his towel, and there's this thing sticking out of his stomach, very little bit sticking out of his stomach. And I'm like, what in the F is that? He said, it's a handle to one of those glasses. I said, glasses? He said, you know those things that they give you, the pink ones? I'm like, who gave you that? He goes, well, the sergeant gave it to me. I just tore it apart and shoved it in my stomach. He literally had ripped the handle off of this tankard. Because as I say tankard, that's what it looks like.
It's a handle on a cup.
A handle on a cup.
A plastic handle on a plastic cup.
And I had to measure the length of this. It was 3.5 inches long. He had ripped that off and had shoved it all the way into his stomach. So I don't know how he did it. He must have really worked at it. And it must have hurt. Because there was just a little piece sticking out. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So I called my major up right away. I'm like, listen, this is what's going on. He's like, let me come over. So he comes over. He's like, we got to send him to the hospital. We sent him to an outside hospital. And this was an ongoing thing with this particular inmate. This was an entire year that I was up there with this guy. He came back about a week later. They had him on a wound vac machine. And from what I was told, those wound vac machines are pretty expensive at the time. I don't know if they still are or not. I'm sure they are. And basically all that did was, I guess, just suck all the moisture that's coming out of that hole that he'd created. Because the problem was whenever he shoved it in, it got caught on his intestines. And as they pulled it out, I guess it ripped his intestines, or as he tried to pull it out, because he tried to pull it out, I think he ripped his intestines, and they couldn't get in there and fix it. So they had to wait. Well, in the meantime, they had this wound vac on him. They sent him back to the prison. He's laying there in 4-point restraints. They decided to take him out of 4-point restraints like a week later, and the machine was acting up. It was beeping. It kept beeping, beep, 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 and it was making him mad. So I went in there and I said, listen, we'll just unplug it and we'll leave it as is, because he was threatening to destroy the machine. He was in there with it. And I was like, listen, we'll just unplug it. We'll take it off of you. You don't have to listen to it. Because all he wanted to do was sleep. When the day shift came in, I told the sergeant, I said, listen, I wouldn't put this wound vac machine back in with him because he's threatening to break it. And I told him everything basically that happened. And I left. Come back the next day, found out they put it back in there. Started beeping again. He got up, smashed it, grabbed a piece of the plastic shard, and started stabbing himself in the same spot multiple times. He put so many punctures in his intestines that they couldn't fix them. So they brought him back with a gaping hole in his stomach where feces was coming out. And they would take and put like, a colostomy bag type thing?
Yeah.
But they couldn't put a colostomy bag on him. They had to put this, it was just the weirdest thing. They would take Tegaderm and just tape everything down, and it had a hose, and just the weirdest thing. But and I had to deal with that dude for an entire year of smelling his feces every time you walk up there. Because there was no way of containing it. It was constantly coming out. It was a horrible deal. And he did it all to himself.
I think that's what a lot of people don't realize is how many of these people are self-injurious and how many times we save them from themselves.
Oh,
I honestly, the image of the prison guard is very negative.
Absolutely. We're all a bunch of dumb.
And I will say the most laziest, entitled, worthless people I've ever known have been probably some prison guards. And I can also say some of, without a doubt, the greatest human beings I've ever known are prison guards. Yeah. But I guess you can say that about any occupation. You could say that about, factory workers or construction. There's always somebody that's lazy and stupid and, and there's always great guys, or gals. And,
And we had a lot of good people at Menard.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I worked with great people. Don't get me wrong.
Oh, yeah.
I don't mean to.
Yeah.
No. There's a handful of people that were worthless.
Absolutely.
But
and whenever you're dealing with 1,000 employees, you're going to come across.
There's no way. Even though we have an academy, we have a testing process, like we said. Right. You have an academy. You try to wean out. And for the most part, I think they probably do a pretty good job.
Yeah.
But it's. Well, I always used to joke with my buddies at work, whenever you started working down at Menard, and I said, well, we get together on Thanksgiving or Christmas, when I see my cousin, and we tell prison stories. They're not the same. No. They're a little different.
They're a little different.
Yeah.
Well, I worked a lot in segregation. I worked as a sergeant in segregation, midnights, whenever I went back to midnights as in segregation. I dealt with those guys for a long time.
You were on the TAC team for 12 years, and then you were a hostage negotiator, too.
Yeah.
Now, did you ever have to do that live, or the hostage negotiation? Were you ever brought in on a hostage situation?
I was never involved in a hostage situation.
Thank God.
But the skills are really, really... let me say this right now. Whenever I went through the hostage negotiation training, the best training I've ever been through in my life.
Really?
Some of the greatest people running the show. And they took it serious. That's the most important thing. They took it seriously.
Yeah.
They said, if this happens and you're negotiating, I might be the one that's, hostage.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It could be any of us.
So we want the best people that we possibly can have and the most well-trained. So I tell you what, we went in for Hostage 1 and Hostage 2 training. It's some of the most difficult training. I left whenever I actually had what they call is the number one. You're the primary negotiator, because you have 5 negotiators basically in a room whenever you're negotiating. Your primary negotiator, your secondary negotiator, you've got a historian in there. But to be primary is one of the most stressful things I've ever done in my life. And that was just practice.
Right.
And they made it feel real.
Right.
I left there, and the first thing I did was I stopped at the grocery store. I grabbed some Excedrin for my headache that I had, and I grabbed a 12-pack of beer for the ride home because I was so stressed out from that negotiation. And I understand. That's how it's going to be.
Right.
And them guys are good.
Yeah.
Oh, they're so good.
Yeah.
The scenarios they come up with, all that stuff, it's just, the Department of Corrections should really be proud of the hostage negotiation teams that they have and that they had. I don't know how they are now. I've been out of corrections for 2 years. I would hope that it hasn't changed at all.
I can tell you this. There was usually, how it goes within a prison. Anytime they're going to run a drill, usually you find out.
Yeah.
There was one day, and this was, I don't even know, 10, 15 years ago. The years run together.
Yeah.
And I was on day shift. I was a segregation officer. And they pulled a drill without, nobody knew.
Wow.
And it was on the yard, and they went into the yard shack and shut the door. Nobody knew. And then they started going over the radio, and it sounded bad. It sounded bad.
Oh, yeah.
And that was I've only been fooled a couple times. There was another time they fooled us. I was over in dietary, and it was in the inside grounds. And it sounded like, tools were getting knocked off, and I need help in inside grounds, and the doors were shut. And that was a good one. But that was the best one because it kept going. And nobody, I don't even think I don't think anybody knew. And so we were stacking guys up on the door getting ready to go in. And then I think they terminated it or whatever happened. But I'm in seg, and I'm listening to the radio, and my anxiety is, I'm pegged.
Yeah.
Because it's like, man, we got to get in there. We got to get in there. There's, there's an officer in there, and it's like, what are we doing? And then, it was crazy, you know? So, and we've had a few incidents, you know, in our career. I don't know how many, but I can think of, there's one where,
Pinckneyville,
where there was, they had to kill him. And that
Dixon
went off perfect. Dixon was another one. Yeah.
That was bad.
Yeah.
I don't know if you heard all the stories on that.
Well, I've heard stuff, but maybe
they went over that with us.
We'll discuss this off. Yeah. And then there was, there's a couple other ones. Jacksonville had one. Yeah. And, but yeah, it's serious.
And then that's when you bring in those ex-Sarvers,
There you go. You bring them boys in and,
just wanted to make a shout out to Zach. I don't know if he remembers me, but we met one time. I told Josh the story of me and him meeting. Yeah. I mean, we've met more. I should say we met more than once, but the first time we met, I don't know if he remembers or not, but it was fun. Yeah. Well, we're 2 hours and 15 minutes into this. That's crazy.
It goes quick, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Tom, thank you for coming here. We've, in a lot of these stories, we just kind of gloss over them. There's so much other stuff. But,
I know.
But, hey.
There's been a lot of things that I was thinking about that I would have, that I wanted to bring in, just different stories and stuff. But, we can definitely, might have to do this again.
Please, I hope so.
We gloss over some of the other stuff we've been.
There you go.
All the fun events.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, brother, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Josh.
Anytime. You take care.
All right, buddy.
All right, bye.
Bye.